There'll be an unlockable in this, I think.
You know, we should explain what that is. We really should. That's not a training in a bowel movie.
Or maybe it is.
It was so. Sometimes we'll just capture audio, and that's just us doing those efforts for tailored purposes. Usually, just working on the audio.
Yeah, if we're doing something that's really noisy, if they're running up a flight of stairs, or if they're interacting with a lot of noisy props, or they're, you know, punching each other and everyone's sounds are on top of each other, we like to get them all in isolation. So we'll go, hold on. Now, Nolan, exertion, please.
It's like great.
Now you guys talked a little earlier about the benefits of having actors together in real space, but the actors haven't really had a chance to talk about that. What's it like filming that scene? How do you prepare for it? And how is it kind of compared to other work you've done?
It's the best way that I describe it is if you remember, everybody, when you were a kid, how old are you? 13. Remember when you were 13? Drift back. If you look at when kids go out and play, I can give you all kinds of actors speaking, like, oh, it's a moment, and you just find the focus, your imagination. It's imagination. It's your kid. I mean, you saw us up there, and we laugh more than you can imagine. And if you think about, like when I have two boys, and when they go out and play in like a clubhouse, some days it's a pirate ship. Some days it's a military fort. I don't know. And they never go out there and say, "You guys hungry? Oh, you broke my focus." It's imagination, and it's in its purest form. It's good acting is playing, and I would love to give you all kinds of technical speak, but it's just professional playing time.
Well, I think Naughty Dog, I was tweeting about this earlier, Naughty Dog is such a great company to work with because they really have created this environment for us to feel safe to be stupid like that. You know, it also has been great because we've worked together now for, we were saying earlier, like five years now. And so when you build that trust with each other, continually coming back to a project and being familiar with the characters, and you're each so grateful just to be able to be in that room, in that studio with everyone, it creates for great moments. Because you see us, we have to be in these spandex ball suits, and Sully's walking around, Richard's walking around with a highlighter in his mouth, and we have to really care about this round piece of tape. You know, all of that, you have to just block everything else out and step into that imaginary world and know that when we throw something out there or when we come in the morning and we collaborate around the script that Amy's been, you know, working over and looking at structure, and then we're able to just sort of jump into that boat with her and kind of, you know, say lines, what about this and what about that? I mean, it really creates a wonderful, safe place to work, and not every place is like that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we get go ahead. we do, like they were both saying, we get to play a lot. And the original title of actors were players. We are definitely players. We have a really good time doing this. And I mean, we go out there in those silly suits and we look at each other in these silly suits, and if you don't crack up then, you're not going to. You know, this really fabulous piece of incredible art. Never seen anything like this. You see the way this is. It's a piece of plastic. But it's not a piece of plastic in here. And now we have silly looking day-low sticks that are shotguns. All that stuff. But we do. We just run around and have a good time. And we're given great scripts by Amy to play with. And we have a lot of leeway within the scripts to play with it, however it will work for us. And we know these characters very well. We've been doing them, like you said, for 5 years. It's the best job I've ever had. it isn't work. It's a lot of fun. It's really a great job. I'm glad to have it. Of course, I'm glad to have any job.
Well, what we saw was probably the final.
It makes it a more active experience for you, but you're kind of filling in the blanks. If you care, there's a lot of people play the game and just don't give a damn, and there's 650, right? I mean, there's points, but it's fine. And so for them, you don't want to belabor exposition of the story, you just want to keep it snappy. But what I try to do is leave those gaps to say exactly what you're asking, what could have happened. And I think sometimes if you define everything, you kind of killed the thing. You killed the fact that this is a collaboration between us, right? As it's from the storyteller, it's this person who's playing it. And I think that's why people love games like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus and Germany, is because there's a lot of implicit storytelling going on. Now, we can't do that because we're supposed to be full action adventure, but I do as much of it as I can. On the other hand, you're talking about a guy with a lot of problems. So, he's got some issues. He's got some issues for sure, and
So does Nathan Drake.
I think it's a very relatable human thing. It's sort of like how we succeed and fail in our human relationships, and I think this is guy that's got some issues in his past, and I think that he's better at being a hero than he is at being a guy in real life. Is my interpretation of him. Is that he's real good at playing that role. But then when it gets down to going to the grocery store and being around, he sort of screws up. And that's why you keep seeing people calling him on the fact that he tends to just sort of disappear at a certain point. An employee calls him on the second page, he calls him on after this game. And when things get too real, he makes himself scarce. And, because he's wounded.
But he's not right. Can you confirm that at the beginning of the second game, he's at that bar broken hearted over Elena?
That was what I was picturing when I wrote it down.
Elena, you're the best.
You don't know what happened.
I just want to say, this team up here, you guys are the best in the business right now. I saw the video games, and I like strong visuals. And this is the first game I've had. This is like a holy grail game for me. This is the first game I've ever found that had stunning visuals that anybody can immerse in. I'm a late comer. I got this game Uncharted 1 for Christmas last year, and I bought Uncharted 2 in January. I haven't stopped playing it yet. I chapter play over and over. So there's so many ways to play this game. I don't even know if you even notice how many ways there are to play this game. You can play the whole game with a sniper, all kinds of stuff. It's amazing, the weapons, the skins, everything.
And number 3 is even more so.
That's good. And I have 2 quick questions. One is, the controls are great. They're consistent in the first game and the second game. I love Dead Space 2. Dead Space, but when I got to Dead Space 2, they changed the controls. So are you going to keep your consistency with the control and operability?
Yeah, I mean, this should be picked up with flavor anyway. This played the previous game.
Okay, and the other quick question was, all the actors here are really talented, all the artists are talented, all the developers are talented. And all due respect to the actors here, you're all great. But are we going to see Chloe Fraser in Uncharted?
She's right behind you.
I meant the real Chloe Fraser.
Yes, she's in it.
Thank you.
So part of the realism of your game that makes it so believable is how the characters actually look. And I was actually wondering if you cast the actors before you really created the characters, especially Emily. She looks slightly more beautiful Elena. So I was just wondering how you mold them to look a lot like them since they resemble them so much.
It's funny. It's a little bit of both. I think sometimes we have a concept and we have concepts for characters. When you guys audition, you can see the concepts. I think that's one of the reasons we're drawn
Yeah, I remember looking at paper of her and I was like, that's me, I'm that girl, I know her.
And so I think it's just human nature to be influenced. When somebody walks in, it seems like they're embodying what you already had in your head, then that helps. But on the other hand, you know, we brought in people of all different, like, dialects, I think that we had people with English accents, Australian. I mean, I was trying to get Claudia to interview for Elena initially. Actually, the reason her name is Elena is the very first incarnation where she was actually Spanish. Did you know that?
No.
So, there. I think it was Elena Vargas. No? Anyway, it didn't work out. But what you have to do is be open to the fact that when you do find somebody, and especially if they walk in and simply embody the character, then you start letting your character become them. You don't want to mash a square peg and go around home, right? And that's one reason I like to write is I know, which is crazy, and it's a tight wire act, and it's one that I asked 100 plus people to do with me, and thank you to Naughty Dog for putting up with me. But it's because I can learn who the actors are, and therefore learn who the characters are as I go, and only just sort of work to an outline. But the story never ends up to be what I initially imagined it to be because of that.
For me, I wanted to be that guy.
Too late.
It's the one thing that you regret adding your voice to.
That I've done?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't say. The answer is yes.
Space lines, I promised I would have a chance to talk to you.
So, take a good one.
Hey, hi guys. Big man. This is towards the actors question. You know, with this whole like mocap, you know, you have to use your imagination for every single thing. You know, like we saw like, in the video. So, what were some of like the most challenging scenes like in the past games that you guys did, like you know, in the past season of the game that were just like the ones that were just like the big walls and you kind of had to break through to like keep going. Like, what were some of the major challenges that you guys had?
I'm lost.
They're also good. They
We don't have any problems.
Difficulty in what way? You mean like as an actor or as a physically?
So trying
Running in sand on a mocap stage when there's not really sand. Like it's like, oh, my head hurts.
you have to try and wrap your mind around, you know, like.
I think for me, one of the challenging scenes is actually in the first Uncharted game, was when we were having to jump out of the airplane with the parachutes on and then do swimming. Like, literally. Like, you know, it's just strange. There's this point in your brain that you just have to, you know, march through, which is, I'm going to commit to this, I'm not going to feel stupid, and I'm just going to do it. And I think, you know, that's always the challenge, but, you know, getting through that in the first game. And then I always, with Amy, I'm always sitting down with her and saying, okay, remind me where we are in the story, where are we in the art, because everything, you know, gets switched around, we shoot things out of order, where is it going, and it's also organic, so that's always, to me, the challenge coming in. And then also keeping up with these two funny guys all the time. I think it's awesome.
I think the biggest challenge is actors to try to keep a straight face when we're doing some of this stuff. I mean, it's just, you would not believe the amount of fun that we have on the stage. And actually, to that end, I do want to make an announcement. We, especially for people who didn't get to ask their questions, I have started a website, and I teamed up with Sony, and they've allowed me to do a behind-the-scenes book from my perspective of Uncharted 3 making. I'm calling it Drake's Journal. And it's not going to be like typical, like, if you're looking for how do you make mocap and do this stuff, not technically. It's more, I think, your high school yearbook. Because the amount of stories from The Office where these people put this game together, which I liken to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. You don't know how they make the chocolate, but you love to eat it. And the game doesn't focus on what we do as much as who we all are. And and the interaction. And I think, personally, that is what makes this game so special. So that obviously won't be released until November 1st, but it will be out there. So I hope you all pick it up.